Are you tired of sitting on the sidelines watching opportunities pass you by? You know you have what it takes, but something's missing. It could be doubt, confidence, or fear that you're not representing your best self. Whatever it is, it stops now. It's time to align your passion with your purpose and seize the opportunities that await you. I want to see you get back in the game. So join me and my expert guests as we talk all things image, branding, and a bit of entrepreneurship. So if you're ready to gain insightful tips, tools, and strategies to help you amplify your presence and define your impact for greater success, sit with us as we talk about it. Welcome back to the Image Connection Show, where we go beneath the surface of image, branding, and presence to help you live and lead with impact. I'm your host, Jenny Dewberry, certified international image, personal brand coach, and consultant. Thanks for joining me here this evening for the solo episode of the Image Connection Show. The Image Connection Show is a conversation-driven show that explores how inner alignment influences our image, our personal brand, and our leadership presence. Every choice we make, from how we speak to how we present ourselves, is then influenced by what's happening internally. And when those inner barriers go unexamined, they quietly shape our confidence, our visibility, even the opportunities that we allow ourselves to step into. That's why this show exists, to help you connect those things so that you are not fully only seen, but fully understood. And that brings me to a quick question before we get into this. About a month ago, I was in a room, a professional setting. Everyone was dressed for the environment. The room was full. People were connecting, the whole thing. And suddenly, in a sea of people, there was this one person who caught my attention. They didn't say anything, didn't work the room, didn't do any of the things we've been taught to do to make an impression. And yet, every single person in that room could have told you who she was by the end of the night. That's presence. She wasn't making any grand gestures. She just had something. There was something about her. And I caught myself thinking, the way I always do, I love 5 minutes to find out what that is. And I got those 5 minutes. That's the whole episode today. That theme, what it is, why some people have it without trying, and others doing everything right and still not landing. And the part nobody tells you, which is that presence is actually learnable. You've probably heard it called a few different things: leadership presence, professional presence, executive presence. Different rooms use different terms, but they're all circling the same idea. The impression you leave on people, not your title, not your resume, it's the experience of being around you. I think presence, it has become one of those words you hear it all the time. Every leadership training, LinkedIn post, panel discussions, they're talking about presence. And it starts to feel like fog because there's so much information. Everyone's nodding along, but some people are not really defining it. And I don't like fog. I like clarity, things I can actually use. So today, I want to get specific on what professional presence actually is, why it's quietly deciding a lot more than we realize, and a simple way to think about building it. And I want to be really clear, and I want you to hear this part. Anyone can have a magnetic presence. It isn't reserved for a select few. You just have to practice it. I've watched people build it from nothing. I've had to build parts of it myself, more intentionally, more than once, which means that wherever your starting point is right now, you're not stuck there. So stick with me. By the end of this episode, I want you to walk away with 3 specific things you can actually do to enhance your presence. And I want to be clear about something else, because I found that even when people hear presence, they think of charm, big personality, the person who lights up a room and never runs out of things to say. Well, that's one version of presence, but it's not the definition. Some of the strongest people I've ever encountered has come from a quiet person, quiet power. They're grounded and self assured. And here's how I actually think about it. I think about presence as image, four pieces working together, and we'll start with the visual impression, appearance, grooming, posture, how you carry your body, how you walk through a space. Communication is how you come across when you speak. Clarity, your tone of voice, how you listen, what your body's doing while you're talking. And confidence, and I mean real confidence, not the loud kind. Loudness does not equate to confidence. I'm speaking of the grounded, prepared, comfortable in your skin kind of confidence. And then there's consistency, the one people skip past, but it's the one thing that makes everything else believable. Do those first three things line up day after day, or does the story change depending on the room you're in? Think about someone you genuinely respected, not admired from a distance, but you respected them, you spent time with them. And just think about that for a second. I bet the respect they gained from you wasn't because of their outfit. I bet it was because they treat people the same way no matter their status. Or it could be they stayed composed whether things are going great or falling apart. That consistency is doing more work than you realize. And here's the part that matters for your career, your business, the next room you walk into. Presence isn't really about being noticed. It's about being trusted. People with a strong presence, they feel steady, prepared, like they know what they're doing, even when they don't have all the answers. And the other thing, presence isn't about being perfect. Even those with that strong presence, they might not always have it together. What they have is a way of showing up that gives people a sense of, okay, I can trust this person's judgment. I trust their authority. And that trust, that's currency. It matters when you're up for a promotion in a client meeting. It matters the first 90 seconds of meeting someone or building a new relationship, professional or otherwise. Competence gets you in the room. Presence decides how far you go in that room. Now, I'm an image consultant, and I can't do a whole episode on presence and skip image. That is literally my world. And I think by now most of you know image isn't about clothes only. So let's talk about it apart from what we wear. The misconception I run into constantly is that image is about looking flawless. That's not true. I can tell you how many times someone has clutched their pearls with a "don't look at me" response when I use the title that I'm an image consultant, and I don't use it often anymore. But I need you to understand image isn't about impressing anyone. And it's absolutely not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's communication in many forms of it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Before anyone hears your words, they've already noticed your posture, your energy, and the way you walked in the room. They're usually not judging intentionally, but they are gathering. As humans, we're wired to do that. We are wired to gather information, and we make snap judgments that aren't always accurate, and they're not always fair, but they're real to the person forming them, and so we have to respect that. I often tell my clients, your image should be growing right alongside you. When your position evolves, your image has to evolve as well. Now, I'm not talking about reinventing yourself every time you level up, but I'm talking about refining and positioning. Your image in totality, it communicates more than we give it credit for. I've sat across from genuinely brilliant, accomplished women whose image just wasn't telling their true story, and they knew this, which is why we were sitting across from each other. There was this quiet gap between how they're performing and how they were presenting. And I want to say this because I want to be clear on something else, because it's the whole philosophy behind my work. My goal and my work has never, ever been about perfection. It's about alignment and authenticity, making sure everything connects. Because I know when your image is aligned with what you do, and where you're headed, people get to focus on your actual message instead of getting distracted by fractional pieces of it. And let me say this, there is no one uniform, one formula, one correct way to look professional. Every industry is different. Every room is different. But underneath all of it is still one quiet question being asked. Does this person look like they belong here? Is that fair? Perhaps not, but it's real. And because it's real, it's worth paying attention to. And I promise you, the shifts that matter most are almost always the simple ones. Clothes that actually fit, colors that complement you, consistent grooming, the way you sit, the way you sound, the way you stand. Small shifts, nothing showy, just intentional. And here's what I found. A lot of people identify appearance as the end point of presence. But presence involves so much more. So much more. How you show up, communicate, even how well you listen. All of those help form your presence. How do people feel after they've spent 20 minutes with you? What do you leave them with? And more importantly, what are you communicating, verbally or non-verbally? Because tone matters as well. You can say exactly the right thing in the wrong tone and lose your whole audience. Or you can say something simple, calmly, and leave a stronger impression than send someone who talked twice as long to get their point across. And asking yourself these questions and answering truthfully helps to provide self-awareness. And that's where all of this actually starts. So ask yourself, do you rush when you're nervous? Do you shrink and get quiet when you're unsure? Or do you over-explain? Are you over-explaining to compensate? And the last one, that over-explaining, sit on that for a second, because I think we are all guilty of doing that. Because the instinct is, if I just add more context, more proof, people will believe me. But it does the opposite. Over-explaining tells the room you don't trust your own answers or your expertise. So say what you mean and let it sit. That's confidence. Real confidence is staying grounded even when you don't know everything, when you feel uncomfortable. So make your point, mean it, and move on without apologizing 3 more times for not knowing something. That kind of confidence, it reads as honest. And people respond to honesty in a way they'll never respond to you being perfect or pretending. Authenticity is what this is all about, and consistency. Consistency helps build that confidence. It's what makes everyone else believe in you. Here's the thing. Anyone can have one great day, one good meeting, a sharp outfit, a good conversation, but presence becomes real when it holds up over time. When people know what to expect from you, trust starts to build. If you're polished on Monday and checked out on Thursday, people notice that too. And then their trust, it begins to erode. So ask yourself, what patterns are you creating? Now, if you're listening and thinking, great, now I'm auditing every interaction I've ever had. Let's bring this back down to earth. It isn't that serious, because building presence is really simpler than it sounds. And it doesn't require that you start from scratch. Start with observation. Just notice how you actually show up right now without judging yourself, just noticing. And if you can ask someone you trust, ask them, how do I come across? How do I seem prepared? And is there anything distracting from what I'm actually saying? Because sometimes other people see things about us that we can't see ourselves. And I'm going to say most times. Then commit. Pick one thing, not 5, just one. Maybe this month it's posture. Maybe it's slowing down when you speak. Maybe it's dressing for the role you're growing into instead of the one you're currently in. Real growth happens in small, repeated adjustments, not dramatic reinventions. Nobody transforms their presence in a weekend. And honestly, if someone tries, it usually looks exactly like that. a costume, a rush job, not a person. So think about that. And I hope that you have gained some insightful information here in this episode. I do appreciate you sitting with me this evening. And just think about your presence and what do you want to establish with it? How do you want people to feel? And what do you want to be known for? That has something to do with presence too. That's a part of personal branding, but presence is there as well. So thanks for joining me here on the Image Connection Show tonight. I hope you got some insight, some information, something that you can take away and use and apply on your journey of building your presence. And then knowing that it is not just a title. Your presence, it's you and what you bring into a space, what you bring into an environment. It helps people trust you. It helps people respect you. So on your journey, just think about what it is that you are trying to present and work on it daily. So again, thanks for joining the Image Connection Show. I will see you next time at 7 o'clock p.m. Also, this is going to be my last show for season 2. So I look to connect with you all during season 3, which begins again in September. Thanks for tuning in to the Image Connection Show. We truly appreciate you being here. We hope you'll join us again. And don't keep it to yourself. Invite a friend to tune in too. If you're ready to gain insightful tips, tools, and strategies to enhance your image, brand, and help you along your entrepreneur journey, this is where you want to be. I'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, keep showing up with purpose, presence, and power.